I wanted to share some individual tips with you about taking control of anxiety. I would encourage you to listen to this when you have a quiet space in your day to reflect on the advice I give, what you might take, and how you can shape your personal practice. I would also suggest you engage with the questions, points to explore, and strategies to try that I outline in the team discussion framework. And there's a link to that in the notes. That's a process for people who can use it collectively to tackle anxiety with people around them by normalizing the conversations that really make a difference. One of the methods for coping with anxiety outlined in that framework is AWARE, which is a great technique for helping you get through anxiety in the moment. The A stands for accept. It's about saying hello and not fighting it, simply acknowledging that it's there. The W is about watching the anxiety, but being detached from it, standing back and rating it from 1 to 10, remembering that you are not your anxiety. The A is about acting normally, continuing to do what you intended, and trying some other strategies to help you stay in that moment, whether that's 7-11 breathing, or possibly some of the other advice that I give in this recording. The R is about repeating the steps until it reduces to a level that feels comfortable. And E is about expecting the best. We know that positive mindset makes a real difference. What you focus on is really going to influence what you experience. It's also really important to communicate when you're feeling anxious. It role models how you are accepting and dealing with a normal emotional response. And it also helps other people understand when the changes in your behavior are not due to them. When people observe and feel the anxiety that others are experiencing, it can trigger mirror neurons and increase emotional arousal for those people close by. Naming it brings clarity to the situation, and that can be really reassuring for everyone involved. An open dialogue that normalizes the conversation allows people to be authentic, supported, and supportive. It also increases opportunities to experience different perspectives that are important to challenge the black and white thinking that we can get stuck with when anxiety is running high. It helps us identify and challenge negative thinking by asking the question, what's the evidence? What are the grey perspectives that fall outside of my doom mindset? Anxiety feeds off attention on it by the fact it's making us feel the fear. When we reduce the fear by exploring the worst case scenario or reframing the specific worry, we create an alternative option, and that diffuses the power that the anxiety holds. Intensity during times of change and uncertainty means we can feel a lack of control, and it's important to take control of what we can influence. To trust that you are resourceful enough to get through the challenges and that you will be okay. One way to help do that is about using your strengths and knowing what's worked for you in the past. When we actively seek and celebrate positives and strengths, particularly where they're about confidence, courage, and overcoming worries in the past, we feel more empowered. Turning up the volume on success sets our mind and body up for opportunities to repeat that experience. Journaling can help us identify the good in ourselves and our lives. For example, something as simple as recording 3 things that we're grateful for. It helps remind us that we can zoom out and look at the big picture about what we do well and not get bogged down in worrying about the small stuff. It's a choice. Self-check-ins and self-compassion are the foundation for good mental health. Self-care is a key part of that. For example, taking breaks. It's not a luxury. It's about keeping yourself in your best place to feel and function well. You are simply putting yourself under stress when you ignore the increasing emotional arousal or simply the need to pause briefly and to reset. We have to challenge the guilt about putting ourselves first and reframe it as a necessity to help us stay focused, to have clarity about what we're focusing on, how to achieve that, and how to perform well. Mental breaks are not a luxury. Find a way to integrate your personal performance resets into your work life. When you recognize your emotional arousals on the up, you practice simple relaxation techniques such as 7-11 breathing, which essentially means that the out-breath we extend for longer than the breath in to trigger the parasympathetic nervous system. The numbers don't really matter whether you can breathe in for 7 and out for 11, or you breathe in for 3 or out for 5, as long as that breath out is longer than your breath in. You might choose to close your eyes and visualize somewhere calm, or you can engage in the breathing while engaging in your usual activity. Counting the duration of your in and out breaths helps to distract your amygdala from focusing on the perceived threat to your well-being. So that also helps. Distraction actually is a good tool for anxiety. Continuing with the intended activity that provokes the worry is really important to build your sense of control and reduce the anxiety in the future. But try engaging with mental games at the same time, such as counting backwards and threes, or pay attention to the environment, for example, reading notices around you. A great way to extend the 7-11 breathing is to accompany it with mindfulness, which in the simplest form is about focusing your attention on the here and now to stop your imagination running on overdrive, thinking about the past and the future. In a nutshell, just use all your senses to ground you in the moment. It's great for walking, when you're in the shower, boiling the kettle to make a cup of tea, anything really. Describing what is happening and not what might happen ties in with mindfulness. Our anxiety feeds off the latter, so get back to the facts. When you've had enough of the anxiety, try telling it to stop. Be assertive. You are not at the whim of that internal narrative. You might also choose to plan your worry time. A specific period when you give yourself permission to sit with the anxious feelings and validate them. Outside of that, you park them. For children, they'll often write their worries down in a box. And then when it comes to that worry time, they look at them. It's amazing how the number of times they revisit them, and they realize it's no longer a worry. We can find methods to do that too. You can also show the anxiety that you are in control by considering it as a thing that you can change. So give it a name, or imagine what it looks like, or how big or how loud it is, where it is in your body. Try shifting it, altering it somehow. Measuring the anxiety on a dial and turning it down, or put the worry thoughts in a basket in a hot air balloon and watch it get smaller as it glides away into the horizon. Or undo a zip in your tummy and let the butterflies escape. Or imagine breathing out bubbles in your long breath out that contain the negative thoughts and pop them with your finger. The list is endless, but it's a really helpful way to separate yourself from the anxiety. And remember to complete an emotional needs audit to check how well you are looking after yourself emotionally. And again, there's a link for that in the notes. It's a really good way to check that your emotional needs are being met well enough for you to experience good mental health. I really hope this has been helpful. I'd love to know what difference these strategies have made for you, or perhaps your anxiety has got its feet stuck in and is resisting your efforts to take control and you'd like some help. Or maybe you'd like to share your experience of using the team discussion framework, or would like some support facilitating that, or creating the psychological safety to have such conversations. I'm happy to be contacted, so do get in touch. Embrace the journey. Together, we can make an impact on challenges to our mental well-being.